guess over the years, a number of you will have worn a little wristband, very similar to this, saying WWJD. They became all the rage at the end of the 80s and the beginning of the 90s. There were others at the same time. Some said push, P-U-S-H, pray until something happens. Some said frog, F-R-O-G, fully reliant on God. But WWJD says, what would Jesus do? And I want that to be the start point for our thought this morning. What would Jesus do? But we'll come back to that in a few minutes' time. In a short while, there will be a commissioning. And for the first time ever, it's going to be done virtually. Sadly, because of the state of the country at the moment, they can't meet together at Westminster Central Hall with their families and friends. They can't go to the Albert Hall. They simply remain at college and will be virtually commissioned. We'll be able to watch it, but only by television, only by computer link. But it's a wonderful thing. And these new officers will be known as the messengers of reconciliation. Every year, the cadets coming out of the training college have their sessional name, and it becomes almost a motto, a way that people can recognise who they are. Over the years, there's been many a strange name in some of those sessions. Let me just share a few of them with you. There were the Commander's Own, Knights of the Battle Line, Victory Carry On, Blood and Fire, Record Breakers, Crusaders, Torchbearers, Trailblazers, Fight It Through, Hold Fast. There were Peacemakers and Pioneers, Witnesses of the Faith. There were the Undaunted. There were Joyful Evangelists and God Soldiers and God's Messengers, Proclaimers of the Gospel, Ambassadors for Christ, Witnesses for Jesus, Servants of Jesus, Heralds of Jesus, Messengers of God's love, Faithful Intercessors, Bridge Builders, God's Fellow Workers, Prayer Warriors, Proclaimers of the Resurrection, Joyful Intercessors, Messengers of the Kingdom, and as I say, Messengers of Reconciliation. Rose and I were privileged to have what I consider maybe the best sessional name, Followers of Jesus. And the sessional name that your commissioning has is something that sets your mission, sets the way that you live your life. And to be set as a follower of Jesus is a great thing, in my opinion. 28 years ago, Rose and I were commissioned as followers of Jesus. And even today, friends, colleague officers will look at us and people that were commissioned at the same time as us and say, they're followers. It becomes the name by which you're known. As followers of Jesus, it was important for us to know, what would Jesus do? That wristband is important. You can't follow if you don't know what the person you're going to follow is doing. And being a follower is a big step on from simply asking, what would Jesus do? Asking what would Jesus do is very much a thinking thing. What would Jesus do? You stop and you think about it. To be a follower means you get up and you actually do something about it. You actively take strides after Jesus. But I think there is something even more important that could have been on a wristband. It could have said, what is Jesus doing? Because the Bible makes it very clear that what Jesus is doing is what we are doing for Jesus. Yes, you can think about it and ask, what is Jesus doing? Yes, you can say, I'm going to follow. But the Bible tells us there's more to it than that. Ephesians chapter 5 verses 1 and 2 says, be imitators of God and live a life of love, just as Christ loved us. Galatians chapter 2 verse 20 says, it's no longer I that lives, but Christ that lives in me. Those readings make it clear that what Christ is doing is what we are doing. Christ lives in us, and so our actions literally become Christ's actions. It also becomes very clear that people need to see Christ by looking at us. If we were truly to sing the song that we know so well, it's no longer I that liveth, but Christ that liveth in me, we need to recognise that people may see Christ in us. Would you be happy if people followed your example to follow Jesus? Would you be happy if their Christian life looked like yours? That really does become the measure. We move far beyond what would Jesus do. We even move beyond the fact that we want to be followers of Jesus. Let's ask the question, what is Jesus doing? And let's pray that people see what Jesus is doing in the way that we live our lives. God bless.
Ambitions clamor to control my mind, and pleasing prospects I see. But first and foremost in my heart I find a nobler purpose for me. To be like Jesus, this hope possesses me. In every thought and deed, this is my aim, my creed. To be like Jesus, this hope possesses me. His Spirit helping me, like Him I'm weak. In every field of life I have high hopes, and for achievement aspire. But this ambition holds the highest place, and burns within me like fire. To be like Jesus, this hope possesses me. In every thought and deed, this is my aim, my creed. To be like Jesus, this hope possesses me. His Spirit helping me, like Him I'm weak. like Jesus.